Residents of Nigeria's federal capital, Abuja, are living in fear as the security of the nation's seat of power continues to deteriorate. The city center is not entirely spared as daredevil cash snatchers, armed robbers, and one-chance criminals have continued to operate freely across the metropolis. Now, satellite towns across the 6 area councils are the worst hit as villagers almost daily fall prey to kidnappings, robbery, and bandits' attacks. Residents say criminals that are attacking FCT communities with, quote, little or no resistance are from neighboring states which share boundaries with the FCT. Meanwhile, no fewer than 30 travelers were on Sunday kidnapped along the Abuja-Kaduna Highway, an arterial road that connects both the northern and southern parts of the country. A group of terrorists blocked the Abuja-Kaduna Expressway and abducted this scores of passengers. And to take a closer look at this development, I have joining me in the studio here, retired Assistant Inspector General of Police, Wilson Inalegwu. It's so good to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you so much. Is it time to actually press the panic button? Because we've seen North Central Nigeria witnessing lots of security attacks from the Christmas Eve attacks in Plateau State. We've seen movements of insecurity going towards Niger, and then just when we thought that the Abuja-Kaduna Highway, which had, had the issues of insecurity resolved, had gone down, we just suddenly saw this resurgence in criminality on the highway again. And we hear it's bandits that are attacking the highway, and about 30 persons are in the hands of the kidnappers. And not only that, they've now come close to the nation's capital, Abuja, here, with 10 residents of an estate close to this same Abuja-Kaduna Highway being abducted in almost daylight, and nothing much seems to be happening in terms of security forces. And the question is it the right time for residents of Abuja or neighboring states within the North Central to press the panic button?
Well, it's no doubt it's of concern when you have incidents the type you just recalled, kidnap along the highway and kidnap in the outlying communities of the FCT. Within the metropolis of the capital city is what we call FCC, Federal Capital City. You don't have so much of incidents of kidnapping from the reports that we get. But within those outlying areas of Kuje, Abaji, Buari, and might be Maraba and all those other places. You see, I think the security forces are doing their level best. I don't think the situation is out of control. I don't think so. Even
when 10 persons were just handpicked by bandits, rocky areas are being, combed by these bandits where they are taking people to hide them around and all of that. And it looks like little or no help is coming from the police.
I think the police has, and other security agencies, they have drawn out a plan for the Yuletide, from Christmas to New Year. And I think they are still implementing that plan. But what I think is happening, the criminals will always try to prove that they are still there. But I think a lot has been done to degrade their capacity to, cause harm. But you see, there are several factors which we'll go into later. But the situation that we have at the moment, you have Buari. There's a border to Niger, boundary to Kaduna, and to Nasarawa State. This naturally poses challenge. And with the level of personnel and logistics at the disposal of the security forces, some of this pose challenge. But there are antidotes to it. Now, if you're talking about one chance and the other crimes.
Those ones are petty crimes within the city center.
They are within the city, but all those are also of concern to residents of the FCT. But the residents, a lot is being done by government in terms of providing assistance in mass transportation. But this evening, before I came into your studio, around the Bega and the surrounding areas, you see hundreds of people waiting for vehicles. And all this provide make it difficult for, easy for them to be vulnerable to one chance, because you've closed from work, you want to get to your residence, and those buses are not readily available. I'm sure government should be doing something about it, because when I saw this number of people standing, and I said, look, it's easy, so if anybody comes, therefore, it comes to coming together of all the players. We are talking of the police, road safety, civil defense, the motor licensing office. Now, are you having a registration? The Kekena PEP, they are there. The unregistered, those who are using their vehicles, private vehicles to carry passengers, all this contribute. And it's about building a kind of database to be able to know who is in the Galadima area, what are those taxis operating in that area, who are those in Utaku going to the other places. If you have a kind of database, and this is what the motor licensing office can do, in addition to enforcing that you must have your license, you must have your Hackney permit and the rest of it. But these are things they can do. And I think we also have an initiative about the G7, comprises of states that are contiguous to the FCT.
Yeah, and the bordering states.
And because if criminals in Niger State, Kaduna or Nasarawa or Kogi or wherever, think they can just launch for an attack in the FCT and withdraw to those locations, and becomes like their comfort zone. But when you have this kind of collaboration that the G7 represents, you are able to address some of these things, collectively.
Yeah, those ones were actually in the past when you had former ministers of FCTs, of FCT actually tackling the issues alongside governors of neighboring states. We haven't seen so much of that with incumbent governor Nyesom Wike. It looks like politics is taking much of his time than actually governing the nation's capital. Are you actually afraid for the seat of power, like many Nigerians are saying that, look, this is coming home? Because I give you instance now, the North Central from Christmas Eve, it's been very hot. Plateau State, lots of people being killed. And then it comes down to the borders of the Federal Capital Territory being besieged by these people, and you're calling them criminals. Residents say they're actually bandits because they hold heavy weapons. And then when you come close to the city center, there's a rise in criminality, one chance and all of that. And even the federal government, through the Minister of Women Affairs, had to, of recent, sometime last year, say, look, there's an increase, an upsurge in deaths of people being victims of one chance. So you can see the steps from the region to the outskirts of the territory and then to the city center. There's an element of crime, criminality, and banditry.
No doubt, but there is no society without crime. But I think this it's a collective responsibility of the public and the security agencies. And if you are talking about law enforcement activity, I think that is ongoing. But the government, I think, not just this government, even the past government, they've been dealing with the issues, first of all, of the manpower of the police and other security agencies, the issue of logistics, because I should be able to make a call and I get response within maximum 5 minutes. Best 3 minutes, and this is the way to go about it. But I think when you don't have that complement of logistics, it becomes difficult. And I don't want to address issues of law enforcement without talking about the social economic situation, because there's a lot of poverty. I'm not blaming.
Yeah, but it's not poor people that go to buy RPGs or buy heavy AK-47 and all of that. Like some of the residents are telling us that those who are abducting them are collecting monies in tens of millions. Someone sent a message saying that they had to pay about 30 million naira. And of course, when those monies are paid for ransom and all of that, I guess that's where they use it to purchase those arms. And so the question is, do the political actors know what is actually happening? Because it looks like they are asleep.
I think there is a need to support the security agencies with adequate security, logistics. And FCT is very complex. So when you come around here, even if you're a police commissioner, but I'm happy that the CP, who is in the FCT now, used to be the DPO in Wuse Police Division, he used to be area commander in Maitama. But people come, if you've not lived in the FCT for upward of 3 to 6 months, it's so complex. You could, if you try to drive, you can easily lose your way. So there is a need, if you come to the FCT, either as a political head or whatever, you've got to acquaint yourself, first of all, with the geography of the FCT and the cosmopolitan nature of the FCT. So, and if you get to understand that, it's easy for you to understand, to address these issues. But where you don't have logistics for personnel, where the number of personnel is inadequate, where technology is not that robust, so you don't have what we call force multiplier.
Yeah, I guess that's what's making Senator Ali Ndume, the Senate chief whip actually said that, look, the military, those who are, supposed to actually fight this terrorism, or even, policing at the lower levels are not being properly kitted, properly motivated, and all of that. It looks like internal security has just been left in the hands of the army. Shouldn't the police actually take back that challenge and say, look, we are responsible for internal security challenges. Shouldn't we rise up and do something about it?
No, I think the police, supported by the DSS and other security agencies, are doing their best. But let me say something. Policing the FCT is quite easy, and you don't have to have the army patrolling any part of the FCT. Perhaps on the fringes, you could have them. But how can you deliver when you don't have those the necessary logistical backing? For example, vehicles. It doesn't cost so much to get these vehicles, because if you have a few, even with 500 to 700, or even, let me say, 1 billion naira, you should be able to buy some vehicles. I think that was done. Because since there is personnel inadequacy, and the police, I think they're trying to recruit about 30,000 from 400,000 applicants. Well, those will come out as recruits. Because what makes policing very interesting is when you have boots on the ground in terms of patrols, when you have officers on patrols on the streets, making their presence visible. That gives confidence, to the public, because we are not dealing with just the fear of crime. I mean, crime occurrence, but the fear of crime.
Yeah, but
so when you have
the sort of policing you're talking about is like, okay, the policing of the whole. So now, when you have to confront bandits or people whose major agenda is to just kidnap for ransom or kidnap to use it and negotiate with government, then you know that you have a tough task ahead.
Yeah, you see, that is, there is the concept of community policing. You see, you don't need gun to stop some of the criminal activities that you mentioned. But what you need is the confidence and trust of the public. And of course, the public giving this confidence and trust, you've got to be accountable. That means if I come forward to volunteer information, I should have some level of protection. That means if I go ahead to even testify in the court of law, the guy shouldn't just, if he is released for want of prosecution or evidence, there should be accountability. That means from the arresting officers to the investigating police officers and the prosecutor and the judiciary, and such things should need to be interrogated and see, where is that line? Where is that breakage? Why is it possible for this guy to just be released? Is it due to poor investigation? Could it have been due to poor prosecution? Or the judge just decided to. When you interrogate some of the issues, you begin to give confidence to the public. So, and I think it's so critical that we build confidence of the public. When you have confidence of the public, now FCT is not like other places. There are so many players, and you have, for example, the Igbo community, the Fulanis, the Hausas, the other tribes, and you begin to ask the Commissioner of Police and other agencies, you begin to engage these individuals. Because having them in their respect, you have 6 area councils in the FCT. And then you begin to address some of these issues through the various communities. So it means if somebody just arrives in the community, either in Buhari, in Gwagwalada, in Kuje, you can, as a commissioner of police, just pick your phone, you call the head, what's going on in your area? And then you begin to build that relationship.
Yeah, but the residents that they built this relationship, asking for police support, and you go to some of these exterior areas away from the city center, and there's near no presence of police at all.
Yeah.
And the question beggars believe, what exactly is the police mobile force, or MOPOL as you call them, what are they supposed to be doing? Are they not supposed to be a wedge between the military and sort of regular policing? We don't seem to be seeing the MOPOL people actually doing a lot in terms of tackling these hard crimes. I'm talking of hardened criminals who are bandits, who are coming to these rocky areas, kidnapping residents and asking for monies.
Yeah, the police mobile force is an operation support division of the Nigeria Police Force, providing that armed support to the regular police force. And I think they are deployed in vehicles. If you go to some of the static points, particularly at night time, you find them working together with the regular, or what we call the conventional police officers. But now, when things like this happen, I say, if you are a commander of the commissioner of police in the FCT or the DPO, you begin to drop personnel from the investigation branch, you begin to drop personnel from the administration and even traffic, and push them to the streets. And you begin to see those nook and crannies that are where you find gaps, you deal with them. And I think that is being done because when I read in the paper and I had them discuss that before the Yuletide, Christmas, they talk about Ember Month operation, and then it comes to Ember Months, and there is a post-Ember Months. And that is what I think they are doing. But I think there is acute shortage of personnel. When you talk about Abaji, there are personnel there. So what I'm saying is, you are not going to be able to recruit 30,000. You're going to train them for 6 months, and they come out, they are just rookies, freshmen, and you push them on foot patrol, on vehicular patrol. But there is something that government can do by vehicles. So when you have those vehicles, when you fuel them, when you give incentives, to the personnel that are manning these vehicles, you are going to have. But I think the MPF, FCT Police Command, the DSS and others have the capacity and the capability to provide watertight security for the FCT. They don't need support.
But we're actually not having that at the moment. But how do we ensure that we revive the G7? I mean, talking about neighboring states that support the Federal Capital Territory. What should the Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, be doing at the moment? Meeting with Mr. President to see how the Federal Capital City of Nigeria can be better secured? Because this is coming home. And people are asking, shouldn't we be afraid for our president? Because, I mean, if there's a huge security breach like it happened with the Kuje prison attack sometime in 2022, the nation is going to be bleeding again. Yeah,
you see, the beauty of the G7, which was initiated by then Minister of the FCT, Dr. Aliyu Modibo, and I think he championed it, and he built relationship with the governors of the state that are contiguous to the FCT. That is why in my earlier remarks, and I say the FCT is a little bit complex. And when you work with the governors of the states that are contiguous, but in doing that, the Commissioner of Police of the FCT should engage his counterpart in Niger State, Kaduna State, even Nasarawa, Plateau, and Benue State, and Kogi, and all of them. You see, you can do a lot through such collaboration, and that is what that needs to happen. But even if you do that, begin to build the building blocks from the area councils, from the wards, begin to have from the chiefs and all of them. Let there be a kind of coming together. Okay, how about families whose loved ones are in the hands of these criminals? I mean, 30 people were abducted on the Abuja-Kaduna highway. Nothing has been done. The police everywhere is quiet. What do we say to those kind of people under this kind of circumstances? And I think they should not be in a hurry to, you see, so long as we continue to pay ransom, these guys are going to do some of these things. And I tell you one thing.
Very quickly.
Yeah, let me tell you something very quickly. I think we have too many security agencies dealing with the issues of crime. And I say that you have the state actors and the non-state actors, and you have a lot, the what do you call them, the hunters and all these people. You see, I think we should be able to know who are those charged with enforcing the law. And in doing that, let there be enforcement of discipline on the part of the commanding officers. Let anybody on duty, you must be fully dressed in your police uniform. If you are DSS, there should be a kind of identification. And you don't need to spend so much money. Some of the tax used for the election, some of these things, they can revive them.
All right.
And put them so that when you are driving, if you see somebody dressed in military uniform or in police uniform, there should be a kind of identification. And those who are supervising these officers have got to see this, because the situation that we have, that everybody, some wear whatever, they wear slippers, wear all this. You don't even know unless you look very closely at the leg. So we should difficult for citizens to we should be able to, so that when we see regular officers on duty, not one guy standing by checkpoint with rocks and wood on the highway. And you see, it is quite easy to manage crime. And in managing crime, you've got to put the totality of several steps.
All right, unfortunately, we don't have enough time to continue this conversation, but we must thank you so much. AIG Bosim Inalegwu is a retired Assistant Inspector General of Police, and of course, he has been helping us to understand the issues surrounding Nigeria's federal capital city after several security incidents with several kidnappings, and then, of course, bandits being said to be approaching parts of the territory through kidnappings for ransom and all of that.